So I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what? There's just not enough people on YouTube making videos about Vim, so I better contribute back to society and make this video here. So I made this silly little app here for school, and in the process, I had to get all this data for the periodic table. So you can see on the left, right? I got all this data here, and I didn't type this in manually. I downloaded it from the internet and then transformed it into a structure that I wanted using Vim. And I was going to show you the macro that I used, if I can remember what I was doing here. So the first thing I did was I had to download this data. And I went to PubChem. And they had this periodic table here. I wanted to see what they were doing here. So if you just open the DevTools and see what network calls are being made, you can see they make a call to their API, which returns this JSON here. And you can look at the response, and they have columns, all of the column names, and they have rows, which contains all of this data, which I wanted to use. So yeah, they're just making this GET request to this URL, right? If you curl to that request, it turns back JSON of this format. So that's exactly what I did. I just wrote this little Python script here, where I'm doing exactly that. I just make a GET request to this URL here, and then I'm just saving the data into this JSON file. And I just wanted to have a pretty indent here. So if we go to the raw data.json, this is the structure of the JSON that they're using on their end. If you look at what they have going on over here, you can see it's just a table, but all of these places where there are no elements is like a joined, like a row span, call span is what they have here. And I didn't want that. In my case, I didn't want to be limited to just the periodic table of the elements. I wanted to be able to display like a table of any number of rows and columns. So I knew I had to transform this into some different structure. And you can look at what I ended up doing. Table HTML. Yeah, so this file, this is Angular's HTML template syntax, and I'm basically just looping through rows and columns. It's like a nested for loop, and then just displaying, like passing the data into a component. This is what I wanted to end up doing. So I had transformed the data into some way that I could just loop through it like this. And what I came up with is in this file that I'm no longer using, but it shows the structure of the data that I wanted, which is I have a array of objects, and each object is a row, and the object contains column 1, which is all this thing is going to belong to one cell in the table. Column 2, right, if you go back, here's column 1, column 2 was blank, column 3 all the way down to 18 was helium, and I have data here for helium. So this is the structure that I wanted, and I'll show you how I went from from this raw atomic data to the structure that I was just showing you. The first thing I did was, right, I downloaded the data, put it into raw atomic data.json, and I thought, okay, maybe I can somehow use pandas and manipulate the data and save it to another JSON file. And that did a majority of the work. You can see I just saved it again, and this is much closer to what I ended up having. I have an array of these objects. But the problem here is you can see it goes directly from hydrogen to helium without any of those empty columns in between. And I wanted to I basically wanted to keep these here so that I can show a table of any size. Okay, so I think I've motivated the problem enough, and I'll show you. I didn't want to waste any more mental energy thinking about pandas and Python and how to it's possible. The point is we don't want to think. We want to use Vim, and we want to move on with our lives. So I'll just copy this file and let's just call this old.json. So this is the old.json, and I'll make a new file. New.json. And basically I'm going to transform this into what we want. And I got to remember how I did this exactly. So let's just look back at the desired format. So on the left, we have the old format, and on the right, we have basically the desired format. And I'll show you now how do we transform this old.json into new.json that looks like this. So the first thing we got to do is turn on screen key so you can see what I'm doing. The second thing is we're going to need to create an array, an empty array, and we need each row is going to be an object, and each column is, we're calling this, which corresponds to an object. And we're going to start this at 0. And so right, the Control-A increments things, Control-X decrements things. If we start at 0, we're going to yank the current line and paste it 17 times. So now we have 18 lines, and we're going to give it a G Control-A. So you can see already we're getting there. Get rid of this trailing comma. And so we have our first row. And how many rows do we need? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to need 9 of these. Shoot. We're going to need 9 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus the first one gives us 9. We're already halfway there. Okay, here comes the macro. I'm going to first align my cursors on each one of these splits to like the thing where I want to paste it. Right on the right side, I'm aligning on this opening brace of column 1 where it needs to be pasted, and then over here I'll align on the opening part from where I'm copying from. So I'll record my macro into register Q, and I will visually select the stuff in the object, copy it, move over to my other split, open up a new line, and paste. We can clean it up like so. Search for the next opening brace on both sides, and that should be the end of our macro. And you'll see here that helium should not go into the next column. It should go into column 18. So we actually need to kind of manually run this macro. I want to position my cursor at the beginning of column 18's opening brace. So we're on the left, we're at the start of helium. On the right, we're at column 18, and we should be able to run our macro with @Q. And it looks like it worked. So now we want to do this again for lithium, which should go into column 3 of the next one. And we can always go back and clean up this JSON file later, you know. We're getting there. So we have lithium and then beryllium @Q. Perfect. Beryllium should also go into 2. Q, yes. Boron is going to go into, we have 10 plus 2 is 12, 13. Position our cursor over here at 13. At carbon 14, so we should be able to go all the way down to 18. You get the idea? Yes, it looks like everything is working. Okay, down to sodium. And we want to put this into column 1 of the next one. Ta-da, magnesium's the next one. Then we skip some, go down to 13 again, right? 13. Is aluminum. Isn't that just fantastic? Finally, we get down to this row, and this is going to be a lot of fun because we don't have to do any stopping. Potassium should go into column 1. Boom, boom. Look at that. Look at that. Just fantastic. And we'll just do another row just for fun. Column 1. Look how good that is. I mean, if you're using VS Code, how are you going to do this? You're going to be here all day. There we go. And you guys get the idea. There's a little bit of manual editing where I had to move this cursor a little bit, but so far so good. One final thing is like, okay, so we'll just save this. I'm not going to show you everything. That's the basic idea. There is an error with this, line 1155. What's the problem? I can't see because this screen key. Oh yeah, this final comma, so, okay. You can see we have JSON here, and you know, I kind of formatted bad. Right, what's going on with this? So one trick we can do is just select everything. And we can do a JQ. And ta-da, look how fantastic that is. Perfectly formatted JSON. Power of Vim for the win. Yeah, that's how we do it.